It's time to talk a little wrestling, and again, this is real wrestling that we are talking about here this morning, folks. Joining us is our good friend Terry Cook from IA Wrestling, and lots of things to get to this morning here, Terry, but I believe we're going to start with an update.
Yes, I'm going to give you a little update. I was just thinking about it as I drove in today from my hometown yesterday. They had the funeral of Austin Roberts. The reason why I was thinking about that, my two nephews are the head coach. One's the head coach, one's assistant coach.
Over in Spencer.
In Spencer. And it was a sad day yesterday, but they had over 500 people show up, even though there's blizzards and stuff going on up northwest Iowa yesterday also.
Pretty impressive.
And they had the autopsy that I'd heard last night was there was nothing wrong with him. It was just a freak situation, and they're going to send a lot of stuff to California and do some more testing on him. Mm-hmm. But so yesterday was, it was so much support up there.
How is the family doing?
My nephew spent a lot of time with the family last week. They're taking it, as good as you possibly can in a situation like this. Mm-hmm. And trying to get the kids back in the wrestling room, after something like that happens, and trying to get them motivated again and keep their mind on, other things, because it's such a sad situation. So they're having practice today, and they're going to start trying to, heal the process and hopefully, have a successful season.
Well, we're thinking about it definitely.
Yeah.
Right. So what do we have on the docket here this morning?
What we have today, and again, my good friend Tony Hager put me up to this, so we'll go over some of these weight classes.
Because there's a big event going on right now.
There's a big event.
What's
Midlands.
it called?
And the Midlands is in Illinois. It's at Northwestern. And I'll tell you a little bit about the Midlands because I used to wrestle. I wrestled in Nebraska when I was in school, but I'm a Hawkeye fan to some degree because Terry and Tom Brands. So we're going to go through this, but the Midlands, let me tell you a little bit about the Midlands. The Midlands has been going around since, I'm thinking probably late 60s, because Gable actually wrestled in the Midlands and won it a few times. And then the history of the Midlands was so big for so many years, all the way up through the 90s. I mean, we had Randy Lewis and Joey Williams won about 10 of them, and Bruce Baumgartner, and all these great athletes.
Has it always been at Northwestern?
It's always been there.
Mm-hmm. And why is it such a special event?
At that point is all the guys that were done competing in college was still training for Olympic titles and world titles, and they didn't have much international wrestling going on, so they wanted to wrestle. And so the only way they could wrestle, they'd wrestle in an open. They had open division there also.
Okay.
What I mean by an open division is you could enter a weight class at 141 and wrestle against the college kids, but they let open people come in and wrestle also. Okay. So at that point, it was such a big deal all the way through the 90s, and now they have the Southern Scuffle, and they have some other tournaments around the country over Christmas holidays, so it came to a little bit smaller venue.
Watered it down a little bit, yeah.
So now what you got is primarily all college kids and a few kids that are open that are wrestling in it. David Taylor, my understanding, is going to wrestle in it. David Taylor won a couple of national titles. He's training for an Olympic title, and he's moving up, and I'll talk about that as we go through it. But so a lot of the open guys no longer compete in it. There's just a few of them that are doing it, but
it kind of gives you some of the history of what made it so big.
But with the open, there's no money involved, right?
There's no money. Yeah. Most of these guys that if they were wrestling open, they were getting money from their clubs, or some of the people that are on the ladder from the Olympic levels. Mm-hmm. They're on the ladder, so they get a certain amount of money. Depends on how you place in the U.S. Open that they have in April every year. So it depends upon about that where they do. So most of the guys are still training for stuff like that, or getting paid throughout other sources.
All right, so who are we looking at?
I was going to say, let's get to it. What's happening?
Let's get to it. So number one, the first weight class I think is a nice weight class. Is Thomas Gilman. Gilman wrestled at Iowa. He was runner up there last year. And then we have Dylan Peters is wrestling there from UNI. Those are the two guys that are ranked in the top 15. What you say, and they have a couple other open guys that are wrestling from Iowa State. Kyle Larson's wrestling. He wrestled at Valley High School. Okay. He's wrestling at Iowa State.
That's Kyle Larson, the wrestler, not the race car driver.
The wrestler. So the weight classes breaks down right now. Thomas Gilman's probably the guy that's going to be the one that's going to win it at 25. He's the guy to beat, I should say.
Okay.
Dylan Peters, if he gets a hot streak, he's on the other side of the bracket. There's a good chance that they can meet somewhere in the finals.
That would be
pretty cool. If they're on the different side of the weight class, which would be nice. I think what you're going to see when we go through all these brackets, even at 133, you go up to 133, Corey Clark. Corey Clark wrestled Southeast Polk.
Yep.
And obviously you can see Southeast Polk and Fort Dodge had a big dual meet a couple weeks ago. Southeast Polk came out on top. But when you go to that weight class, Corey Clark's the guy to beat. Cody Brewer, the guy that was from Oklahoma, was defending national champion, is not wrestling. And so you might see a matchup with Earl Hall and Corey Clark at 133. Earl Hall wrestles at Iowa State. They wrestled 5 times in the last 3 years. Clark's won all the matches.
Really?
Now, but Hall was an All-American, but the thing is he just can't get over the hump to beat Clark. And Clark is really good on top. And if you guys saw the meet of Iowa State, they wrestled, and it was a great match until the 3rd period. Clark got on top and ended up beating him like 11-4, 11-2. So those are 2 major weight classes for Iowa that I think are probably pretty solid guys to win it. We can move up to 141. I think you go to 141, you're going to see a couple things here at 141.
Wow, lots of Iowa guys.
You've got
stacked, yeah.
John Meeks from ISU, he was a 4-time state champs from Roosevelt. I don't know if you remember that, but he struggled at the college level. He wrestled as a freshman, got beat up pretty good. Redshirted last year, is wrestling again this year. Hopefully, we can start building some confidence.
Why
in him.
is that when guys do so, or they're so dominant in high school ranks, when they get to college, it's a different game?
That's a good question. I had the same thing actually happen to me because you're so good coming out of high school and you think you can beat everybody in the country.
Right.
And what happened was Meeks had the same problem I did is he had so much success and he went into it and he wasn't even 500 as his first year in college.
No way.
And it really hurt him mentally. And now you got to rebuild the kid up and tell him how, because you got to build him up again. And so he took a year off last year and redshirted, and all he did is just work out. So now he's coming back trying to build a little confidence, and hopefully he'll come back stronger as the year comes on so he feels like he can compete. So those are things that can happen. So you got to be real careful in wrestling is the freshmen that come in that try to wrestle, right away. You can see that these guys that are bigger and stronger can really get the best of you, and then you realize you can take a beating. It takes a while to come back.
Let's make sure we get through our classes. So let's.
I was going to say one other person, Long.
Oh yeah.
Dylan Long. Andrew Long's wrestling in Grandview. Andrew Long wrestled at Penn State and he wrestled at Iowa State, and he got in some trouble, got kicked off the teams.
Oh,
and he's
I remember
a kid,
that guy.
And he is wrestling 141. So you got to watch him for Grandview. There's a good kid that could have a chance to win it.
There you go. 141. Let's move to 149.
149. You got Brandon Sorensen. He's going to be a #1 seed. I just found that out this morning. Searches from Northwestern was a national champion last year. 2 years ago, he wasn't last year. He got beat in the finals. But Searches is going to be the guy that Brandon Sorensen is probably going to have to beat as you go through the whole weight class there.
Okay.
What are we at now?
157, I believe.
157. At 157, we've got Cooper. 157 is really kind of a weak class for the state of Iowa.
You don't see any
Really?
small numbers up there, yeah.
There's nobody in there in the top 15. It's just an open weight class. You're going to see.
Okay.
So there's nothing there that would really say, "Wow, watch this guy from Iowa."
Okay.
At 65, there's a couple. The Weatherman boy is from ISU. He's the top 20 wrestler. His family's
Cool
from.
name.
Yeah, his family's from actually living up in Huxley, Bellard, and their dads were really good wrestlers at UNI. Weatherman's coming
Carrying
along.
on the tradition.
Yeah, and Marino. Cooper Moore from UNI. And so those only 2 kids at those weight classes. They're pretty weak depth-wise in the state of Iowa.
Okay.
When you go to 65, that Jordan guy is probably going to be the guy to beat. Jim Jordan was a guy that wrestled when I was in college, was a 2-time national champion. He's a senator for Wisconsin. You read him up, he's a congressman, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so you see him. He's in all the stuff on TV. You'll see him all the time when they had Hillary Clinton on there about all the stuff was going on. So it's his nephew, but so there's a real tradition there from Wisconsin.
All right.
You got Alex Meyer, which is going to be nice when you go at 174. Alex Meyer wrestles at Iowa. He's going to be the #1 seed there. And I think that's probably the guy from Iowa that you're going to see that's going to have a chance to compete.
Do the best.
Yeah. He's going to be seeded #1 there. So that's the 74. They got Drew Foss from UNI, but neither one of them are ranked. So that's kind of a deal there. At we'll move
184.
Right 184. You got Sammy Brooks. Sammy's going to be probably seeded 3rd. David Taylor, the guy I was telling you earlier. David Taylor he won the Hoskins Award. He's wrestled national, international. He's an unbelievable competitor. He's wrestling for Nittany Lions Open Division, which is for Penn State. But I think Sammy Brooks is going to be. Hopefully, he'll have a chance to wrestle him in the finals. Cody Caldwell, UNI. he wrestles for up in northeast Iowa. I can't think of the town right now, but tradition there. Caldwell's got tradition. His brother, I think, wrestled for Minnesota. But so then you go on up to
197.
197. Burhak. He should be the guy there anyway at 197. He's going to be seeded #1. There's really nobody else there that's going to compete
really has
with
a
him.
shot at it.
No. There's some of these weight classes you're going to see as I was running through them. It's just one or two guys that, because it's such a big tournament,
right.
and there's so many great wrestlers around the United States that are coming throughout the United States. So you're going to see some of them not even probably seeded from Iowa State or UNI or or Grandview that are not seeded, but there's 2 or 3 guys that can compete.
And I believe you have one more.
As I say, we're really jumping up now to 285.
285.
These are some big boys.
You've got a couple guys. One from Iowa. Stoles is he's a thrower and a pinner. Larson from Oklahoma. Larson actually from Oklahoma is from Huxley Bellard. He went to Ankeny. He moved down there. He wrestles for my coach in college, is Cody Olson. Mark Cody's the head coach at Oklahoma.
Is he related to Kyle Larson? Do you know?
No,
not at all.
relation,
Okay,
no,
okay, just curious.
So those are the ones. We went through it fairly fast. Those are the weights.
How many people are going to wrestle in this whole tournament?
I don't know exactly the number. I'm saying probably somewhere around 200 to 300 people are competing in it. And you're going to see. I think that what they're doing. I think on the wrestling, the Takedown Radio, I think is going to be doing it live.
They are.
There's a couple different.
Scotty is. Okay.
Yeah. There's a couple different stations. If you can get on the internet and look, you'll see it. And there might be some stuff. I think you'll be able to watch it live streaming too.
There you go.
So it's going to be a pretty neat tournament.
Sounds really cool.
I was going to say, if you love wrestling, this is definitely a big tournament to check out.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's a great tournament.
Great job, Terry.
Yeah, good
Thank you.
job.
Appreciate it, man.
Pleasure seeing you guys.
Again, iawrestle.com for more information to follow along what we were talking about and everything else happening wrestling in the state of Iowa.